Despite doing what she does, she has a good soul corrupted by evil. Her name used to be Adiris. She was abandoned by her family when she was only 5 years old, left at the Temple of Purgation at the center of Babylon. Traumatized by this, she tried processing her sorrow by believing that the gods had a plan for her. She started living her life in quiet servitude, preparing sacred meals, polishing ceremonial censers, and during the night she'd pray for a sign that would reveal her purpose. She aided the high-ranking priests during the yearly worshipping of the god of water and creation. The resulting bliss of swinging her censer down the great hippo-style hall made her feel closer to the gods than ever before. Each day she worked herself to the bone, fulfilling her duties while taking on new ones as she aided the priests during purification rituals. The priests needed more assistance every day. Cleansing was needed daily as there was a great plague outside of the high temple walls. Months went by before the priests had caught the disease. Soon, they were too sick to perform any kind of ritual. Adiris, who assisted many of the rituals before, was the only one who could carry on. She found a golden statue of a woman covered in jewels hidden in the priest's sanctuary chamber. This must be the sign she's been waiting for. A plan for her, made by the god themselves, has revealed itself. The hall was filled with followers as she grabbed the ceremonial dagger forged in silver, her ruby-ringed fingers wrapped around the blade. The sudden display of luxury intrigued the followers who were already struck by her youth and beauty. During her reciting, a woman in the back collapsed. Adiris rushed over and noticed black blisters covering her feet. Without hesitation, she took her sacred blade and sliced off her very own toe as a sacrifice to the gods, praying to protect the woman. This act gained the deepest of respect from everyone present. Quickly the tales of her wealth, beauty and devotion spread across the city where she became the high priestess of Babylon. Of course it was only a matter of time before she found blood in her calves, abscesses in her neck, her four-toed foot darkened. Ashamed of her condition with her status, she began wearing a veiled headpiece and carried a censer that masked the smell of sickness that clung to her skin. Knowing she would be saved, she kept performing her rituals, offering blessed water and food to her followers, but no ritual could save her. In a desperate attempt to appease the gods, Adiris banished herself from the city, traveling north with a few loyal followers, venturing through the cold woodlands of Urashtu, until it was no longer possible to walk. They were camping in a damp cave, where she laid in a pool of her own vomit. Her foot, which had turned black, was too swollen to go any further. Her followers learned a terrible truth in that cave. Their travels end here. Kneeling among her retching followers, Adiris made one last prayer, knowing her gods had abandoned her just like her parents did. But she did not give up on her hope, and even with her dying breaths, she kept looking for a purpose. The black fumes of her incense rose into the air, covering the entire cave, and while her followers were left to rot with disease, she was shown a purpose. Finally, a god who gives her a purpose. A god has shown her mercy and acknowledged her devotion. She can't let him down, and she will prove time and time again how devoted she will be, in fear of being abandoned once again. We know it's not a real god, but that does not matter. It's what she believes is most important to it. It's using her devotion against those poor souls trapped in his realm of infinite torture. She thinks what she does is what she needs to do to please her one and only true god, but she's still very much diseased. Spreading the disease, she no longer prays to get rid of the plague, she has become the plague. Now begs the question, should you? My name is BjenTheBlaster and welcome to Should You Play the Plague? Should you play the plague? Sounds so weird. Anyways, for her design, I think her design is pretty well designed. Honestly, to what her lore is, I think they nailed it. They did a really good job on this. You know, it's also, I think, the first character to have lore in this game, to like actual full lore, but doesn't really convert it into Dead by Daylight. Like, it kind of gives a small hint, I guess, but in my opinion it wasn't that great. I really tried my best to make up something myself. You know, they did their best, and I think they did really well with this character. She has a crown, her half her skin is like, what was it, abscesses? It's a really weird word. It's something that has to deal with the plague, I guess. You know, you have skin rupturing and bubbles, and you have normal parts of the body, but you can clearly see that she's diseased. She also is more in a tone of a... She still needs to give up that young, beautiful woman kind of touch, and they kind of also nail that, even though she's covered in blisters and shit. I think the way she holds the incense and stuff is also pretty cool. You know, overall, it's a good amount of attractive, but also disgusting. You know what I'm saying? You know, I think they found this really sweet spot with her where she can also get really cool skins and stuff. You know, overall, your design's pretty good. It's nothing too scary, so that's a bit less. But besides that, it's pretty good. You see you have half her lips missing and stuff like it's disgusting. But from afar. Usually I'd have a section about chase music, but I don't even think they had personalized chase music yet at this point. I think it started with the Hillbilly, I'm not sure. I've tried to look for the Plague's chase music, but I just can't find it. You start with the Hillbilly, but I think Hillbilly came out before her. Maybe I'm tweaking. I can't find it. I find fan-made music, but they didn't do one for her as far as I'm concerned. So I can't give an opinion on that. And the most important question, is she fun to play? Well, I think she has a very, very unique ability. You know, with the vomiting on characters, I think that's a good idea, especially if they tend to stay sick too long. Then they tend to get the broken status effect and stuff like that. So they have to cleanse themselves and get rid of their infection. But then they infect the waters with it, which she then again can use to her advantage. And then start vomiting up aggressive blood, I guess. So she'll start injuring survivors more. But she can't infect things anymore. But her infecting things is also, I think, as a killer, it's fun to play. You can just start infecting gens and vaults and windows and stuff like that. And I think that's pretty cool. Also that survivors can infect each other. I think that's really great. Overall, her power, I think it's really cool. But to play as a survivor against the Plague, and she's just 3-genning with her vomit. I mean, you have to wait like a good amount of time, like I don't know, like 20 to 40 seconds. I had one match where I had to keep waiting for the gen to not be infected anymore so I could work on it. I could work for it for maybe 5 seconds at best. And then she would be back again and then vomit all over it again. And I don't know, I just didn't know what to do in that spot. Instead of just, you know, taking the infection, but she could probably link it to, oh, someone's on that gen, but could be another gen maybe if she used her vomit on other gens as well. So to play against it, I think it's a little more confusing sometimes, and I'm not sure. Like, I didn't really figure out yet how to beat her. Overall, to control her powers is also a bit difficult sometimes. Sometimes I'm just fucking winging it. I'm just just everywhere and hope that something hits. But it's a bit tricky. But indeed, to play as, I think she's pretty fun. Her power is really unique. I really like the concept of infecting something that can infect a survivor and the survivor can infect other survivors and stuff like that. I think that's a pretty cool idea, especially because, you know, her whole personality is the Plague. Lore-wise and character-wise, I think this is definitely one of the best characters they have right now. I mean, they have great ones, don't get me wrong, but she's just lore accurate in her design, in her gameplay. It's crazy. Now I'm gonna explain the power. I do have some gameplay, but I'm just gonna explain anyways. No, I think I explained it. I'm just gonna give you the explanation anyways. Now for a power, you can vomit. That's it. You vomit on people, you vomit on windows, on vaults, on pallets, on dropped pallets, on generators, and on survivors. If a survivor interacts with one of the infected objects, if that's dropping a pallet, vaulting a window, working on a gen, stuff like that, then they get infected. After a certain amount of time, the infection grows too much, and then they have the red stain around them, around their icon, and that's when they have maximum infection. They will be injured, and they will have the broken status effect, so they cannot heal themselves unless they go cleanse themselves. And how do you do that? You find these pools around the map, drink the water or wash yourself in it. I'm not entirely sure what it does, but it's a pool of purification, I thought it was. And then once you have used that, you cannot use that pool anymore, so other survivors will have to find another pool. But the Plague herself can interact with that pool now, because it's an infected pool. She can use that infection that you just washed off, and she can use it to her advantage, where she will no longer infect anyone for a certain amount of time. It's time-based. But you can now injure them and down them with her vomit, and I think that's extremely strong. But you're also, you know, you should be able to aim it pretty well, which is sometimes a bit difficult. It's sometimes hard to dodge, but sometimes it's easy to just stay behind stuff and not get hit. So overall, this is a pretty survivor versus killer turn-based game, kind of. I don't know, I think her power is pretty fun. We have Infectious Fright. Any survivors that are within your terror radius while another survivor is put into the dying state will scream and reveal their location to you for 6 seconds. You also have Dark Devotion. You become obsessed with one survivor. When the obsession loses a health state, your terror radius transfers to the obsession for 45 seconds and its radius is set to 40 meters. You are also granted the undetectable status because it's now on the survivor. Survivor with the transfer terror radius is also considered to be inside a terror radius for other purposes. For example, like any survivor that is within your terror radius while another survivor is put into the die stake will scream and reveal their location for 6 seconds. If this person runs away from you and he goes to 2 teammates and you down the 4th guy, this will trigger on those 2 teammates even though you're way too far from them. So that's pretty handy, I think. Anyways, let's see what we can do here. Okay, so my dumbass just completely forgot to explain the 3rd perk. So this is a... So you have the 3 generators in white. Bro couldn't focus for 2 seconds. Those are blocked by the entity for 2 minutes. Well, it's almost over already, but that's my perk. Corrupt Intervention. So this is a infected? I don't know how to call it. This is an infected pool of devotion. So you can ingest this. So right now we have the ability to infect things and infect survivors. But if we change to this, they will know now that we have it. It's only temporary. It can't infect it anymore. You can't infect anymore. But you will injure or down them. Also the pool is now cleansed again. So the survivors can again use it to get rid of their infection. It cancels your ability when you charge it but run out of time. Where's this guy? There he is. So I will be infecting him now. So now he's infected, and once that infection is full, they become injured and they go in the dying state. Look, now it's red. He got injured, so my perk activated that my terror is on him now. But now he's injured, he's broken, and he can't heal until he goes to Pool of Devotion and get rid of it. Where I can then pick up my Corrupt Purge. I think if there's an infected Devotion pool, you should be able to see the aura in white. He was in my terror radius, I downed someone, he screams and location is revealed. Look, Dwight is infected as well. He probably interacted with something that was infected, like a pellet or another survivor. I think it's because he rescued Bill that he also got infected. So if they heal each other and stuff and the one is infected, they also get infected. Look, Dwight is now injured and broken status effect. Should you play her? I think if you're pretty new to the game and looking to explore more characters, I think she's definitely a killer that you should look into. If she's like one of the last killers you could buy, then yeah, sure, go ahead if you have plenty of iridescent shards. As always, I wouldn't recommend buying any of the free characters with real money. I don't think that's too worth it. Can't really think of a single character that I'm like, oh yeah, you should definitely buy them with your real money if you can get them with iridescent shards, but you don't want to grind. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. The next one's gonna be the Legion, so please subscribe so you won't miss that. Her 4-toed foot, that's such a hard thing to say. 3, 2, 1, action. Action. I have microphone. Yay.